A new limited time offer might help you fly Emirates first or business, Bilt is changing the meta for rent payments, and MGM is launching a new card, but is it worth the gamble? Today we're doing deep dives in all three of these topics. Big favor before we dive in is to hit the like button to help with the algorithm. If you are someone that's new, then consider subscribing. We also are visiting relatives, hence the different setup, so if I hit this a lot, it's not my fault. Starting strong, we have the best offer this year for a popular travel card. Some of you have been waiting 4 years for this, pretty good opportunity to reload your point balances, and I'll link it down below. You're going to get 100,000 bonus points after 5,000 spent on purchases in the first 3 months. Even if you are on Team Cashback, it kind of works out. In that case, you get 1 cent per point, so that's 1,000 in value, for 5,000 spend is 20% return on spend. For travel through their portal, it's 1,250 in value, so 25% return on spend, which is also still pretty good. These are the predictable and relatively fixed ones, but you can get more upside. It can be hit or miss, so you do want to check this, but this would involve transferring to partners like Singapore, Hyatt, Virgin Atlantic, or Emirates. In this case, you're targeting about 2 cents per point, and it is my hurdle rate, so if I don't get that, I don't actually redeem. If you are on Team Premium Travel, then you're looking at about 40% return on spend. Hotels are great options if you want to stretch the points, especially if you do have a player too, since whether you're paying for 1 or 2 people, most of the time it's going to be the same price. Also, instead of Michelin key level hotels, you can opt for more affordable ones that are well positioned in cities you're visiting. Intro bonus here should cover about 2.5 nights for top hotels under the Hyatt umbrella, so think Park Hyatt and Ondas. Alternatively, about 4 nights at mid-level ones, which can still be pretty useful and we actually like as well. On the other end, maybe upwards of 8 nights for more economic options for longer stays. That's one of the reasons why I really like Hyatt, because it can pretty much work the whole range. If you want raw upside and dollar value though, it's hard to beat first and business class flights. Especially because you might be unlocking an experience that would otherwise involve hemorrhaging your savings and investing accounts. Depending on the program and where you want to go, the intro bonus should cover about 1.3 to maybe 2 long-haul business class flights. For first class, you might be looking at about 1.3, but generally about 1. We've talked about Singapore and also booking ANA with Virgin Atlantic. Let's dive into Emirates. One of the sweet spots for their program is the US to Europe, specifically New York to either Athens or Milan, and in business, you're looking at 87,000 points. Unsurprisingly, availability tends to be easiest last minute. First class is going to run you 102k points, and there are a lot of tools out there like Seats Aero to help you find a space. For Milan, it's going to be the A380, and it's not too bad of a product. This is the one with the in-flight bar, which can be a vibe, and yes, you can access this with business class. For Athens, it's the 777, and as of February this year, it's all the new retrofitted products. Unless you get product swapped. Business is less exciting here, but this is one of the most impressive first-class products in the air right now, and it's pretty much your own little room, and you have a ton of privacy. While a lot of other seats have little doors where people can still see you from atop, this is not the case. But yeah, easily top 5 first-class products out there, and well worth it if it's on your list. First class is 102k points, and you do pay 106 in fees, but pretty good way to try it and get it off your list. If you are trying to stretch the intro bonus, economy is 17.5k per way. Fees are a bit lower here, about $54. You have a lot of options, but I'd probably lean towards first class since it would otherwise be a lot harder to buy and cost you more money. 400 is pretty standard for economy, and I think most people will be happy paying it. 11,000 though for first is a lot tougher to justify unless it was truly once in a lifetime and you really want to do that trip. Obviously depends on you, but the question is whether it's worth 5 or 6 economy flights. The reason why I really like points and miles is that you can do once in a lifetime things without blowing through your bank account. I'm fine spending money, but I don't want to be in a situation where future Sebi looks at it and is like, what the heck were you doing? Note that the card for the 100k limited time offer does have a $95 annual fee, but you do have a $50 credit for hotel bookings through their travel portal. In year 2, if it stops making sense, you can downgrade it to no annual fee card, so you have a lot of outs. If you want to run the numbers for your situation though, we do have a calculator that I'll link down below. The math has to math, but regardless of which camp you're in, you're probably going to be a happy camper. On that note, if you want to learn about this card or pretty much any other card out there and you want to support the channel, we do have links on the website, asksebi.com, and also down below in the description box. Make sure the links are competitive, that they make sense for you, but otherwise it is a huge way to support the channel, so thank you in advance. Heading over to Bilt, they just launched a new feature to earn more points. It might feel small, but in the end game of points and miles, it's a game of inches, and that's our opportunity. Okay, so why even pay rent with credit cards? The idea is that you're paying X percent in fees, but you're getting X plus Y in value in return for that fee. So for example, let's say you're paying a 3% fee, but you're getting 5% back. One of the easiest examples of this is going to be finishing an intro bonus that you otherwise wouldn't be able to hit with your normal spend. Going back to the limited time offer, even if you're using it for cash back, that's 20% return on spend. Would you pay 3% to get 20%? You probably would. And to be fair, ideally you do hit it naturally with your normal spends, but that might not work out for some people. If you're thrifty, you don't eat out a lot, and you don't spend a lot on other things, then rent might be one of your biggest opportunities and one of the most powerful tools. Before it gets too confusing, Bilt the company is arguably two different things. You have number one, the rewards program, so this is earning points, paying rent, and all of that other stuff, the community stuff they're going for. And number two is the Bilt credit card. You can use both together, and that's probably their long-term goal, but you don't have to. You can only use one of the two, and that's fine. In our case right now, we are talking about the platform itself rather than the card. In the past, you could pay rent of the rewards program and use any card at all, and you pay a 3% fee. The problem, though, is that most other platforms charged exactly the same fee. It also depends on the property manager and their backend, but sometimes there were cheaper options. So for example, Biltium was at 2.75%. As a rational user, you're going to either pick the cheaper one or you're going to be impartial if they're the same. With this new update, they are changing the dynamics, and it's pretty good. If you use a non-Bilt card on the Bilt platform to make payments, you're now going to start earning Bilt points for those payments. Instead of it being 3% versus 3% where there's no difference, you're now getting something, so there is a benefit. If you're using a Visa or MasterCard, you're earning 1x Bilt points in addition to any other rewards you might get with your credit card. For duck cover, it's also 1x back, and for Amex, it's 1x for every $2 spent, so 0.5x Bilt. And for all of these, you are still paying that 3% fee. Independent of this, they also have other specialty partners like Alaska, where the rates might be a bit different. With intro bonuses, 20% back for 3% makes sense, an extra 1% is nice, but it doesn't really change the equation. What's more interesting are long-term options. This is a bit of a deep dive, but I think it is an important one. One of the key things for us to understand is what Bilt points are actually worth. There are a ton of ways to use them, but the floor value is 0.55 cents per point. This is going to be for rent payments and also statement credits. In the middle, you have neighborhood merchants, Amazon Lyft rides, and also fitness classes and Bilt collection, which I'd argue don't really matter, but they exist. And then next is the Bilt travel portal, where you get 1.25 cents per point. If you are planning to use their platform for a long time and do a home down payment, then it's 1.5 cents per point. And then if you're transferring to partners, my target would be 2 cents per point, but it can vary depending on you. The three key ones that I think are worth considering and using are going to be 0.55 cents per point, 1.25 cents per point for travel, and then 2 cents per point for transferring out to partners. I know some people might argue the down payment side, and I think that's fine. The reason I would be a bit hesitant is just because of a going concern risk. If they shut down, you don't know what's going to happen, and also the fear of devaluations. But yeah, main idea here is that we're transferring one Bilt point to one partner point for airlines or hotels, and the partner points have more upside. If we map this out, the numbers do look pretty compelling. So again, for Visa and MasterCard, you're getting 1x back for every dollar spent, and Amex, it's 0.5x per dollar spent. Starting with the 3% cost, how you value the Bilt points affect the net cost. So for Visa and MasterCard, for rent payments, you're down to 2.45% net, travel, it's 1.5%, and transfer partners, ideally about 1%. Amex numbers are a bit worse, so 2.73 down to about 2%. Consider that most other programs that charge you the same 3% are not giving you anything back at all. The next consideration are going to be the points and miles that you get from the cards. Here, there's arguably three paths. Option number one is having 100K with Bank of America or Merrill Lynch. The main reason is that you get up to 75% as a boost on all your cards with them, the core ones. So for example, for the unlimited cash rewards card, it normally earns 1.5% on everything. Here it's 1.5 times 75% more. So in total, you're getting 2.625% cash back on everything. We've talked about this program a ton in the past. It also hasn't really iterated though, so pretty boring, but it works. This is for cashback as well. You're not getting transferable points, so less upside. In this case, if you are cashing out your points, you're getting a net cost of 2.45% from Bilt, and then you're getting 2.625 from Bank of America, meaning that you're netting 0.175% as a gain. This is an arbitrage you're getting for running the system and paying your rent through the system. If you are doing travel though, that's where it starts to get a bit more competitive at 1.125%, And then transfer partners, which I probably don't think would be a thing if you're running the setup, it'd be 1.625%. For most people running the setup, let's say even if you're traveling a little bit, that's an extra 1.1% give or take for nothing, for running rent. If you're in the target market of New York and you're paying sky high rent of 5K to 10K, then you could be making an extra 50 to 100 bucks back, and you could probably automate that whole process. If you don't want to have 100K of Bank of America, then there are some normal people setups as well. Here we're looking at 2% or 2x cards. For example, Fidelity earns you 2% back on everything. Same with Citi Double Cash, and technically even better because it is 2x thank you points, which can be transferable for the right cards, or Capital One Venture X, which is 2x miles. Let's look at Capital One's redemptions, and the numbers do make sense if you are traveling, especially if you're transferring out to partners. Their cash out rate is a bit lower though, so a bit harder to stomach and you actually lose value. But for normal travel, you're getting 50 basis points for nothing, and transfer partners, 300 basis points. For the Citi Double Cash, it's pretty much the same boat, but cash out rate is 1 cent, so 0.5 doesn't matter there. It's pretty much 0.5 gain to 3% gain. The numbers might not sound that impressive, but it's a great arbitrage and it's scalable, especially when the alternative is either 0 or getting 1x back and jumping through a ton of hoops with their card. Netting 3% value with the Venture X card is pretty solid and tempting to me. If you are curious and you want to learn more about the Bilt platform, I'll leave a link down below. Last option is probably the most annoying one and most complicated, but it's going to be either hitting free nights or elite status with airline and hotel groups. A ton of airlines will give you status for hitting very high spend on their credit cards. Hotels are the same way, and oftentimes they have free nights as well for hitting spend. Starting with airlines, let's look at American, and they might be a hated airline for normal flying, but their miles are pretty powerful. They also do have different levels, and the second one is Platinum, which is 75K and also 75K spent on their cards. 75K spent per year is equivalent to 6,250 in rent, and that's a lot, but also not that abnormal in, let's say, San Francisco or New York. So let's say you decide to run that through rent through Bilt. You're paying 3% in fees, so 2,250 in fees. For that, you're getting American Platinum status because of the spend and how the card works and the points. You're also getting 75K Bilt points and also 75K American points. In total, you're getting Platinum status and 150K points. So first off, you need to set a dollar value for Platinum status, which might be 0, or ideally something if you're going for it, and then also the points. Even during promo sales, people are buying miles for about 1.8 to 1.9, sometimes 2 cents per point or mile. In this case, if you're tracking Bilt and American points at the same level, then you're buying at 1.5 cents per mile. We also have happily bought miles at similar rates, mostly because at some point you do run out, and if you like flying first in business, and especially if you're trying to review them, then this is the cheapest way. At the end stages, when you have, let's say, 30 to 50 cards, you do hit more roadblocks and speed bumps, and it gets a lot tougher. Even if you do want to keep signing up for stuff, you might have to wait 24 or 48 months for certain clocks to kind of reset before you're eligible again. So in this case, rent is a pretty good lever to have, and same with buying points. For example, you could fly the New Japan Airlines first class for 80,000 points from New York or Dallas to Japan, and there is pretty good availability last minute. You're looking at 80,000 points for American and $5 for fees. This is one of the first class products I'm most excited to try, and I'm hoping to expand to the West Coast. The old first class was the best way to fly to Japan, and I'm expecting this to be even better. We did debate doing it, but flying from San Francisco to New York to then fly from New York to Japan seemed a little too much, but yeah, we'll see what happens there. Maybe Dallas when we're visiting relatives, but still felt a bit much. There also are other cards like the American Express Hilton Surpass, where you can earn free night certificates for, let's say, 15K in spend per calendar year. We have done the math a lot in prior videos, but it generally makes sense if you like premium hotels. For example, one of Mandy's favorite hotels in the last 12 months is the Waldorf Astoria Los Cabos. It's 2 Michelin keys and a top hotel in Mexico, and well worth a visit. Also, she did do a video on her channel, Mandy Roams, if you are curious and want to see a deep dive. The retail price is pretty aggressive, generally $1,000 to $2,000 per night, and sometimes a bit more. So for example, this is the pricing in May, a lot of 1800s and 1700s, but sometimes 2200 and 2700. If we swap the point pricing, what we're looking for is standard room availability. So in this case, for this property, it's 140K points. So for example, on the 15th, that was otherwise 2200, it's 140K points here. So if there is standard room availability, then you can use a free night reward, and that's fine. Your mileage may vary, but I think $1,000 is a pretty fair comp and what a lot of people would consider a deal for this hotel. So running the math here, you're spending $15,000 on rent payments. You're paying a 3% fee, so that's 415 fees. For Bilt, you're getting 0.5x points, so 7,500 Bilt points. The Hilton card gets you 3x, so 45,000 points, and you get that one free night reward given the spend incentive. Even if you ignore Bilt and Hilton points, paying $450 to get a night people would pay $1,000 for, that actually retails for, let's say, $1,800, feels pretty good. That's pretty much how we use our rent payments because you're effectively buying nights for 25 cents on the dollar, not even just a discount, but a discount of a discount. Also, this option was always there with those other platforms where you're paying 3%, but you were not getting anything. Here, at least you're getting something back. Last up is MGM and their new card, the Iconic. This one might also tie back to Bilt given the spend incentives here, but it's a very specific card. There is a $249 annual fee, and you're getting a $200 annual resort credit, and this is on opening and every card member anniversary. Despite the name, you can use it at most of their hotels, and the main reason for the name, I think, is because they call their hotels resorts. There are some pretty big catches though. So first off, you do have to have an active hotel reservation, and then you have to go to the MGM desk during your stay. It cannot be redeemed online. It is supposed to be for charges to your room, so let's say dining, spa, entertainment, and other amenities. So that means you can't just be a local resident and go in and eat and not stay with them. If you value this credit at 100%, then that's $200 in value, so a $49 effective annual fee. At 75%, that's $150, so $99 effective annual fee, and at 50%, that's $149 effective annual fee. I'd probably put it in that 75% range, but depends on you there. The main thing we're trying to figure out is whether that effective annual fee justifies the other benefits. Taking a look at the perks, one of the big ones is MGM Pearl status, and this gets you free parking, but it's also on their no annual fee card. So it sounds good, but not really, since you can get it for no annual fee. Number 2 is a Priority Pass membership, but it's also not free. So it's not the ones where you get free access. You have to pay $35 per visit. Priority Pass has a cachet to it, but if you're paying $35 a visit, it's a little tough to evaluate at anything. Next is a $120 global entry or TSA PreCheck credit every 4 years, but that feels like table stakes right now for pretty much any travel annual fee card. Surface level, I have a tough time. I'd probably say no. There are some additional other ones. So for example, you get a complimentary night up to $215 value for spending $25,000 in a calendar year, but that's still an extra 1% in value, so it doesn't really move the needle. That 1% is the best case. There are a lot of rules around it, so it makes it really tough. Another one is that you get 10,000 tier credit bonus on account anniversary after spending $25K in a year. Here you're getting gifted Pearl status. You're not getting the tier credits for Pearl status, so 10,000 is still pretty far away from Gold. Gold is one of the sweet spots though, where you get to avoid the resort fees and you get priority check-in, but yeah, it's a pretty far goal. This is where the multipliers might help. With the card, you're getting points and also tier credits for your spend. You're getting 6x at MGM, 2x on a few other things like hotel stays, dining, gas, and groceries, and then 1x on BetMGM. I think the card can make sense, but it's definitely not for everyone. It's either for people that love Vegas and go a ton and spend a ton there, or you're doing a lot of online stuff with BetMGM and you know what you're doing over there. If you're not a Vegas super fan, then just feels like too much work and probably a skip, but curious what you think. Again, if you want to learn about cards, we have links on the website, askxebi.com, and also down below in the description box. If you made it to this point, leave a Joker card emoji in the comments down below, and I'll try to heart it and also respond. 3 questions. Number 1, what would you do with the limited time offer and the 100K points there? Number 2, if you are paying rent and you don't own, what card would you run through their system? So for me, it's the Hilton cards, but kind of curious about everyone else. Number 3, thoughts on the MGM card. Let me know and everyone else know in the comments down below. Big favorite, thumbs up, consider subscribing. By the way, so if you liked it, see you next time.